And so, yeah, let's go through, the 7 laws and just, hash that out, because I know we both have so much to say about that. And what I did with it is I just did like a little blurb, like, so people can understand, and I'm sure you can, explain from your side and just experience. Sorry about that. Experience with, your life and how you've seen them play out. I think you're better at that, like relating it back to that. But I also kind of just put how it relates to other 7s that we are aware of, because it all conjoins. It's all one thing, really. And so the 7 laws. So the first of the 7 laws, mentalism. The first and the foremost is really the only law. Mentalism is really the only law, that all is one and all is mind. And everything you experience is what your thoughts created. You live what you want to see. And you need to be different and imperfect to understand yourself in that way, which is the kind of the paradox of it, because all is one and we are all just the same thing. And that is enfolded out into the 7 laws, because we in the 3D where we are now cannot understand, cannot comprehend just that one law by itself. And so we had to expand it out into 7 so that we can match it up with our energy fields, with what we understand and what we have to work with here. So we know how to find coherence in these 7 laws and to truly really come back to that main mentalism law and understand that. And so what I also put down here is mentalism is also corresponding to your crown chakra. It's corresponding to the moon, which was interesting to me, because I was kind of almost thinking that the moon would be more the third eye and maybe, something different, but it is the moon. And the 7th, the deadly sin of wrath, because control is like the other side of that, and not being in control. And what does that do? It makes you so angry and out of control. Yeah. So what's I know you could say a million things on mentalism. What are your first thoughts?
For me, that is like the pure state of consciousness. That's like the first thing that was ever, that is the only thing in existence that creates all of us. Consciousness is everything. Consciousness is nothing. Consciousness is there. You know what I mean? It is the all. It is the source. Yeah, exactly. There was something I sent my mom earlier from a so this kind of sums up something. I want to read it real quick, and I can give you guys the website. It says, to understand the concept of God, you need to understand the one who creates the universe, the one who creates all of these creations, that which is above all things, who is nameless, all-knowing, all-hearing, all-seeing. For the one is nameless. I can't use any other word to describe the one. Therefore, when I say God or the creator, what I refer to is the one who created the worlds, who is the absolute reality that no man can grasp, his meaning in the physical reality. Thus, when a man wants to realize the existence of the one, he needs to reduce it to a particular concept that works in the material physical world, which is the reason why we have the concept of God. In Hermetic Principles, the 3 initiates regard the one as the all, yet they are the same truth coming from the same essence. The one who is God, but isn't God, who is everything, but isn't everything. Even the word creator cannot describe the wholeness of the one, for what it does is even more than to create. And that, for me, is mentalism. Like, that sums that up in a long way of saying it, but it definitely that is what it is. And that is from wisdomtavern.com, an article, Hermetic Principle of Mentalism, detailed explanation, and it is a basic one, so it's very, very I actually sent it to Shannon earlier, and it talks about what hermetic means, which hermetic means secret. It means like information that is sealed. So it's and that's why these things are slowly coming to light, and how it's coming to light. Mentalism is truly the all. It is all of creation, before creation, and we know of it because mentalism and consciousness decided to create.
Yes, I love that. And I think like a really good way that I just recently learned to like kind of align yourself with those thoughts a bit more, if it kind of seems too much or overwhelming or whatever it is, because it's an overwhelming thought, like to even like have the concept of like there was a beginning, or there not a beginning, or there was ever something or nothing, or like just that whole thing is just kind of mind-boggling. But sit down and say, I am God, and then see what else flows out. Say, I am God. I am the sun. I am the moon. I am the stars. I am the river that flows. I am the trees that blow. I am, like, I am. And just continue and see what comes out of you and get really comfortable with that, because I think we're really uncomfortable with saying I am God. I think most people are.
Very much.
And, there's someone I like when, she comes in our group and says, I am God, but I'm not your God. And because you are your own God. We are all God. And so I think that's a really cool way to, just get a little more comfortable with that thought, that idea. I think that really brings in a strong vibration of that into your life, and see if that, helps you, makes a difference with your confidence, how you're thinking about things, how your perception, because again, the moon, right? So,
well, and I think it helps you give a better understanding of why there is good and evil, why there is polarities, why there is dualities, because God creates it all. You know what I mean? Like, and God is all. So therefore it gives a better understanding as to, like, okay, well, why would God create hell if he'd create heaven? Like, the religious aspect of it doesn't allow, you know what I mean? Like, hell is explained in a punishing type of way, and hell is punishing, but we do it to ourselves in a sense, and I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole because it is a state of being to live in. But to step into what Shannon just suggested is one of the most beautiful things, because even whenever you're going through really hard times, or you've been not the greatest person, that type of thing, you see how and why it was created and what purpose it serves. So you get a better understanding of and acceptance of the trials and the tribulations, as well as the successes. You know what I mean? Like, you understand that truly everything does serve its purpose. And while it might not be that great, like, it's still the acceptance and the understanding of knowing, okay, well, me playing the villain in that aspect, or, someone playing the villain in this aspect, like, how is this working for me, instead of how is this happening to me, kind of concept. I'm really stuck on that this year.
Well, no, it's like the duality of it, right? Because everything is a gift and a shadow, right? And so, like, the 7 layers of hell, that's the shadow, and then, 7th heaven, that's the gift. And so it's both things at all times.
Yes.
And so, it's not, yes, we can go into rabbit holes on, the layers of hell and everything too. But I think that was one of the beautiful things when I was putting this together, and kind of like starting for my mind to be putting it together, was like, it's not a different thing. None of these things are different things. They're all 7s and whatever, but they're all kind of just aspects of these same laws, and just played out differently. And so, like, the shadow or the gift. And we have to respect both equally, because they're both, like, darkness and light. There is no good, there is no bad, there is just darkness and light, and positive and negative.
And then whenever you guys really do get into, anybody that chooses to get into the Kabbalion and the Hermetic collection to learn more about this firsthand, you find out that there's not just the 7 Hermetic principles, but there's the 7 layers of creation. So, like, minerals and dirt, and, like, how our souls have been oil, and, all of those things. And then crystal, like, yes, we are crystalline structures in our DNA and the way that we are spiritual beings, but at the same time, like, we go through different steps of creation to achieve, that part. So as the earth was being built, our souls were being built. As the universe was being built, our souls were being built. And then, like, that kind of concept. But what you said a minute ago, it was really, really great, because it would take us right into number 2, the principle of correspondence. You were talking about as within, so without, as above, so below, that kind of thing.
And exactly, you just said it. As within, as without, so within. All without and within is a reflection of your mind. So then you bring it back to that mentalism. Positive and negative held everywhere. And then there's correspondence. A good way to think about it is, like, you have 2 eyes. You have 2 eyes to see differently from different parts of your body. You have, all these things that match up on your body, and all these things that we look out to in the world, and that correspond to each other. But it all comes back to that mind, right? And so with the correspondence, what that relates to, if you're looking at your energy systems and everything, is your 3rd eye, which makes a lot of sense, although that is in the middle, not your 2 eyes. And then it's the sun. The sun is corresponding to correspondence. And then gluttony is the sin that that related back to that. That one is like the way that I kind of remembered that, or kind of made that make sense in my mind, was your eyes being bigger than your stomach, kind of thing. Like, just what you
for
see,
me too.
Being exactly. And so if you're trying to work on that law, and again, like, I love the idea of, bringing this back to like, how can we bring these into coherence in our bodies and into like, try and get as close, like, like probably very few of us are going to get into like a full on Buddha enlightened state or whatever, but we're going to try and we're going to do our best to do that. And so working on that coherence, you can work on that gluttony, you can work with the sun, you can work with your third eye, you can clear that out, you can continuously work on those shadows that come up as you do it. And so this is how we're gaining more of that coherence.
For me, it resonates really strongly with the Tesseract, because the Tesseract is something that we were created from, or that was used in mentalism and consciousness to create the universe. And as above, so below, as below, so above. And the Tesseract, so the Tesseract is it's the cube form. It's the cube of the universe, pretty much. Like have you like Thor and Odin and all the superhero movies are all about the Tesseract. Well, the Tesseract is like that. It's basically the infinite creation. It's the ability to create infinitely. And so like we're created from the Tesseract, which so the Tesseract turns itself inside out. And that's what we do with the spiritual journey, is we're constantly turning ourselves inside out. We're reflecting the quest for the Holy Grail. You know what I mean? Like we're shedding these skins. We're turning ourselves inside out. We're looking at ourselves and then like reformat. Like that's what the Tesseract does. It keeps moving. It turns itself.
Spot you are in there, you see it from a different angle, right?
And it turns itself inside out. And so that's that as above, so below. So yeah, and Jane 108, I will talk about him forever probably. He gives a really good even 1 hour thing on his website. I think it's under the Tree of Knowledge video that it explains the Tesseract, and it actually has a whole visual of the Tesseract moving inside and outside of itself, turning itself inside and out. So it's really interesting. And that's kind of like, for sure. I think I have it, so I can actually like definitely email it to you, because they give you a recording of it afterwards.
Awesome.
So,
yeah, I want to look at that.
And I will post it on our I'll post the link on our Instagram as well.
Cool. Okay, great idea. Yeah, and then everyone else can kind of get that visual as well.
You might have to remind me.
Yeah,
just make sure.
All of our minds are just Swiss cheese right now. Like, I don't know what the world expects of us. This is just the way it is. And so the third law is vibration. I love that. Like, this is probably the one that I talk about the most without necessarily bringing it back to and talk about is hilarious, because it goes to the throat chakra, and that's clearly my thing. Like, it's really funny. It was another funny sync with this course that I'm taking, and they talk about your different the different types of intuition or whatever, and they're going through them or whatever, and I'm like, yeah, like I have bits of that or whatever, and it goes into the one where like it's like you just talk and like whatever just comes out of your mouth is what's supposed to come out of your mouth. I'm like, oh yeah, that's me. And as I was kind of getting that chill of like confirmation, I got an appointment booked for a real estate listing that I have, and they booked an appointment at 5:55, and I'm like, no one ever books an appointment at 5. You book at 6 or you book at like 5:45. Like no one ever books at 5:40. But exactly at that moment when that slide came up and like talk, is that your intuition? It's like 5:50. I'm like, okay, yeah. Thanks for calling me out there. I get it. Yeah,
I just want to say that I don't have a problem with that. I'm just kidding. We all know that I have I'm right there with you. Like we are the mirrors looking at each other.
You might be on the same. Yeah, you might be looking at that one too.
There is no doubt. There is no doubt about it at all. But what my understanding is, and what I've been learning when it comes to that really quickly, is the throat chakra is directly connected to the Akashic.
Oh yes.
So the throat and your third eye, and that's why the throat is blue, is because the Akasha is blue.
Well, and so everything's stored in vibration, right?
Exactly.
Stored in frequency and vibration. And how do you see? I wanted to ask you this, and I hadn't separately. People see the Akashic differently. Do you see it as like crystals that you go up to, and because I've seen a couple people have said that, and it's like this crystal, and then when they feel the vibration of the crystal, that's how they get the information.
Oh, that's super interesting.
Do you have a visual when you're in there?
I do, and it changes from time to time in phases, and the more I'm into it, but the more I grow. So at first it was basically like this black and blue wisp of like how it like in like a like a Disney or a fantastical movie, the animations where it's like the white light and everything like that. It's like wisping through and you see it going all through the universe. It's not animated. It's very actual, very like reality what I see it. And it's kind of like just, I can see beings at books like opened. I can see like pages like being written. Yeah. And it's like, it's how I correspond to it the most, because for me, I love books. Like I love writing. I love seeing language on paper. Yeah. Like I love seeing writing. I love all of those things are very, very important to me. So, but then other times, especially recently, what it is lighting a candle and this hall of the gods opening up basically and going in and, like walking in, and then they always, like when somebody asks a question and say there's no more information on them on that subject, it'll literally, that chapter's closed. Okay. Like that chapter's now closed. We moved, you know what I mean? Like it's the best way to break it up or to say, okay, like that's as much as that we can, disclose at this time, or whatever it is. But there are, and for many people it's very different too. It also depends on their energy, where they are, that kind of thing. But the scene that I like to set, I really, really like basically dedicating. Right now I've been using my Freya candle a lot, but when I'm called to, I dedicate a very specific candle and burn it the whole time that we're in the records. So it's I do
that too for healing.
Yeah, yes. And it's just one of the ones that you got. You know what I mean? Like,
I thought you were gonna say like superstitions.
The ritual candle, like the homemade ritual ones, not in the jars. Yes. So then they burn, and they usually melt down by the time it's done, and it's very it's symbolic in a lot of ways of what they're illuminating. Like if it's blue astral, if it's like energy work in the black, or if it's, the yellow with the illumination and the gold and the touching source and things like that. And then other times it's just a basic candle. It's whatever is being called. And where, like I said, where they are personally. It's really interesting. I love the crystals because I can see exactly what you're talking about that people have seen. And that how they just hang in the air and they float and they can pick one and it opens up like a scroll, that kind of thing. So, or it's written on it like hieroglyphs in or even just etched
like floats out like that same kind of little energy you're talking about, like the wisps of energy is kind of how I would see it. I don't read the records, but I feel like that's like what resonates the most. And then I love what you say about like seeing the hall or seeing that kind of visual, because in the healing side of it, like the best way that I can picture that is to picture each person's body like a temple, each person's energy like a temple, and I'm entering their temple, and like what is their temple going to show me, and so I'm kind of like evolving into that kind of imagery as well, which, because I just think that's so reverent, right? And we should be reverent of those moments of having that. Like I'm very much reverent of the trust that people give me to come in and even just to, because I don't do the changes, but even just to activate something that might change something in their life. I want to be reverent about that. So that temple imagery helps with that.
That is beautiful.
But just to like, sum up the vibration, obviously everything is vibration. As we know, everything is vibration. Everything is frequency and sound, waves, ripples flowing out from you and corresponding back to you in the universe. And then the throat chakra, the word of God. And so every time in the Bible when they say the word of God, that's very much referring to the vibration. If that's your belief, I don't want to step on anyone's toes,
yeah. For me, it's just that.
Sorry, I was just gonna say, because we touched on this earlier, the intention and the way that you say words.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
For me, it's like it does say nothing rests, everything moves, everything vibrates. So like mentalism is that consciousness, the correspondence is the decision of how everything is going to mirror itself. Like, you know what I mean? Like when in creation, it's like, how am I going to create? Okay, I'm going to create, everything turns itself inside out.
Yeah.
Good into evil.
Based on what it is, right? So it has to be. Yeah,
exactly. And then it has to feed it. It has to feed, like the creation has to feed itself. It's like watering itself. You know what I mean? Like just funneling the water, like precipitation. You know what I mean? It comes out of the earth into the clouds, back out of the clouds into the earth. That's exactly, it's the best concept of correspondence. You know what I mean? The creation, like mentalism was the creation of how am I going to do it? We're going to do it with correspondence. How are we going to create this correspondence? We're going to do it with vibration. And then vibration leads us into the polarity. polarities. Like, okay, so the duality, the masculine, the feminine, the two parts, because the high and the low have to be, they're separate in some way. You know what I mean? Because they have this realm of separation where there's a breaking point of a frequency change. So even though it's a seamless frequency change, you're going from 200 to 300 to 400, there's still a break. There's still like, okay, what is lower vibe? What is higher vibe? And so it's like, and which way is it feeding? Is it feeding downwards or is it feeding upwards? Is it feeding the water into the ground more, or is it feeding the water into precipitation more? And then that for me is where the polarity comes in: the masculine, the feminine, the dark, the light, the yin, the yang, all of that. So, and that one is, everything is dual, everything has poles, and everything has its pair of opposites. So,
are you in polarity now?
Yes, but I was going to say, and so while Shannon is my dual, she is also my opposite. Like, it's like she is my paradox in a lot of ways. And that's, so we are all one, but we are also like, we're all in everything. We're all in nothing. Like, that's what it is. So what does polarity mean to you? I jumped right into that one because I was like in that flow of creation.
A little bit of a different order. So just to sum up on vibration, Saturn is the planet that's associated with that. The throat chakra.
Nice.
Pride is the deadly sin.
Which that would make very much sense. You know what I mean? Like the pride, like the way that we create, we get very prideful of. That's one of those low vibratory things that we get stuck in.
And the way we like defend as well.
Yes. Yep. That's defending our. Yep. You're very right. Yeah. That's.
But we'll go over to polarity. Because that one's associated with the sacral chakra. So I had it going down that way, but it doesn't mean that it's not the right way for this to play out. So we're going to go over
no, I was just going in the order of 1 through 7 for Hermetics.
Right. So it's different for the way that it plays into your chakras. So that's really interesting.
That is super interesting.
Yeah, because I took it again. I was, with Matthias De Stefano and the way that he goes through it, which he doesn't mention the Hermetics, but he's very much in like the ancient esoteric, the ancient Egyptian way of doing things too. But it's interesting to me that I don't think it matters that much that it's in a different order, but it might be interesting to see.
I don't think so either, because if you think about it, the solar plexus chakra holds like the most energy for me, at least. You know what I mean? Like I'm not saying like I don't want all even energy, but that solar plexus is where they tell us to store our extra energy. You know what I mean? Like
and that's the cause and effect one.
Yeah. Okay. So, and that makes sense. Yeah. So,
because that's like all of that push and pull. That's that,
and
for
so that's
reaction. There is an equal opposite reaction, just to take it very 3D, but
which is probably, I could see why intention would rest in the solar plexus as well.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like or the understanding of how, because cause and effect is karma. You know what I mean? That's understanding of the laws.
Vibration and rhythm.
Yeah.
And so exactly like you said, the vibration comes right back into it. And so, these all interplay with each other. And
for sure.
Like, there's no, like we said, like it started with the one, right? And we're just breaking it down. So of course they're all going to weave in and out of each other perfectly the way that they're supposed to. And that's the funny thing is like, we only are breaking it down so we can understand it, so that we can work with it, so that we can see where it is in our energy. It's really all one thing. So it doesn't matter which, order it is, not really, because when it comes down to it, it's all the same. So with all I really had to say with the polarity, again, sacral chakra, that one's Mercury. Interesting, because I understand where we were with most of the planets, like where they line in, it kind of like seems practical to me. But vibration being Saturn was interesting to me as opposed to Mercury, because I was thinking, okay, your voice, communication, Mercury is all about communication, but Mercury is actually over there on polarity and the sacral chakra.
But that's still communication, though.
But it's still communication.
Yeah, because marrying the dualities, you know what I mean?
Right,
like making them one. That's why we battle with the age of the masculine and the age of the feminine. That's why there's so much in the in the world and in the the universe is pretty calibrated, but it's us that's uncalibrated. You know what I mean? Like we're at these, you know what I mean? And that's because of the polarities.
Coherence.
Yeah, our polarities have not communicated for eons.
Yes.
And then when they have, it's been that, I'm an overbearing masculine that can't, show my emotions, and then scares the feminine and all of that stuff. And so, that's.
And so like that one, the only other thing to add on to what you've already beautifully said is just to reiterate, it's not bad for you. We need both of those things to move. We need the positive and negative. They are magnetic, and so they help us to propel forward. everything is magnetism, and it helps us move or repel. And as we go up, then we go down harder, and then we go up, you know, and that comes back to the pendulum, of course, as well. But that's all polarity. That's all how that works. And it helps you create more energy.
Well, and I think it brings you right into, I don't know what you have for number 5, but I think
I'm going to go back to, is it okay if I go back to just the going down the order of the chakras?
Yeah, that's fine. And I'll just kind of, I mean, I'll if you don't care, I'll sum it up as the order of Hermetics after, because
which way they go. Yeah, exactly.
Because
let's do that and compare back and forth.
And that's what I was going to say, because honestly, what you literally just said leads into the 5th one in the order of Hermetics. So go ahead with what you've got, and we'll just see where that takes us.
Okay, so the one that's associated with the heart chakra, so the 4th one down, is, and again, this is not associated with the chakras and the number that they are, because we start from the bottom up, right? Mm-hmm. So we're going the opposite way down, and maybe that's where it compares back and forth, because the numbers are different. But the rhythm is the heart chakra.
That's the 5th one as well.
Yes, and Venus, of course, that makes complete sense as, you know, the planet of love, and envy as the sin. But everything in the universe follows a flow, a beat, a time. How many times you vibrate depicts the rhythm that you're flowing at. Low vibration is a slow, long wave of rhythm. So if you're thinking about, like, if you think of brain waves or just a wave in general, that low vibration is that slow rhythm. And time seems to go slower when you're at a lower vibration. And so you find, like, if you're stuck in the office at your cubicle and it's just like this day is taking forever, it's a low vibration there. Like, you're not doing what you want to do. You're not out there living. You're not out there, you know, experiencing. You're doing the same thing, you know, 9 to 5. So you're like, everything's slow. And then you go, you know, and go see your friends, and time seems to speed by because you're at a high vibration. You're feeding off of each other, making those vibrations higher, and that rhythm is increasing and going faster. So it's hard to change your life quickly when you're in a low vibration. When you're in a low vibration, it's very difficult to make those big changes that most people, when you're in a low vibration, you want to make, right? Like, that's when you're sitting there like, oh my God, my life sucks, I want to change this. But you're already in a low vibration, so you have to work on raising your vibration, doing things that will raise your vibration, whether that's taking better care of yourself, self-love, being in service to others, all these things that help raise our vibration. And then that you're going to see your life, you know, start changing faster and faster. So that's why we have to kind of get over that hump of like, oh my God, everything's horrible, whatever, and, you know, start changing our thought patterns, and then start changing what we're doing, and baby steps till all of a sudden it's like, wow, this is all working. Everything's going fast now. Now we're at a high vibration. I can feel it. I'm in flow. You know, everything's coming to me. And that's kind of how rhythm, you know, shows up in your life, basically.
I agree 100%. I really liked your flow from polarity into rhythm, which is what I was going to say, because you're talking about, you know, the polarity of we're going to say the positive and the negative, the dark and the light, the, you know, the shadow and the white. I said those a little bit backwards, but that's okay. And but that leads into, it gets into a rhythm, right? Like, we get into a rhythm, whether it's a chaotic rhythm, that roller coaster is a rhythm, even if it's chaotic. The dopamine, the serotonin swings, those are rhythms for anybody that experiences those. Even healing cycles come in rhythms. Like, we notice that we're in cycles, but you can be in 10 different cycles at one time. You know what I mean? And they all have their own rhythm. And so the Hermetic principle, the principle of rhythm, is the pendulum swing manifests in everything. The measure of the swing to the right is the measure of the swing to the left. Rhythm compensates. And eventually the point of the pendulum is to not swing anymore, or the pendulum will swing, and you are basically on the outside of the pendulum, and you are, and you're just like sitting there enlightened and watching it swing back and forth. And
sounds nice.
Yes. And that's also that Hermetic vibration being raised, how we talked about earlier. As long as your rock bottom isn't going deeper down into rock bottom each time, and you see your rock bottom rising, then that is that you know what I mean? Like, both are the principle of rhythm, but it's a matter of like, which way are you going in vibration? Which way are you going in Hermetics? Like sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I was just thinking about how, like, you can go to that super high rhythm, and either the super, super high or the super, super low, and crash and like flatline, and then your rhythm has to restart because there's only so far off of your
the rhythm you're supposed to be, doing through your life. Like, you have a rhythm that you're supposed to be following. That's your flow. That's when you feel in flow, when you're right on that rhythm. If you're way too high above it or way too high below it, that's when you crash and you flatline, and it's like, okay, that's the rock bottom, time to reset, and here we go again.
Yep. Very much so. I agree.
Yeah. I love that one. I mean, the heart, so like how
I do like how that in the heart manifests a lot. Like, the heart has a lot to do with intention and manifestation, that kind of thing. So it only makes sense, and your heart is what beats at a steady rhythm. You know what I mean? Like, it's part of the physical being. We all vibrate, you know what I mean? But it's really something within us that is steadily at a rhythm that is specific to our being. But it's also specific. Like, everybody has a different heartbeat, probably, just they might be similar, but you know what I mean? Like, it's a rhythm to each their own kind of thing.
It works best with your makeup.
Exactly. And
I always think of like the heartbeat of the earth too, which I'm always wrong on this. I don't know. It's like every 70 years or something. What is it? Every 72 years? Okay, yeah. I know you told me that, I feel like, and I just was like, I'm going to butcher this, but I'm going to say it anyway. But like and back to like that, going slower at a slower rhythm, like the heartbeat of the earth is, look how much longer, obviously, the earth is going to live than any of us. And it's that, much slower pace that the earth is moving at. And so it has its rhythm too. Everything has its rhythm.
Very much so. And they all the rhythms align with each other's rhythms. We just don't. I can sit there and say I know it's so, but I haven't seen the map drawn out to know like how it aligns. But like if we're all one, then therefore each rhythm feeds the other rhythms. It's almost like the bass drum line feeding the next drum line, and then some of them are like that one boom, boom.
Yeah.
Boom. While the other ones are like boom, 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 boom. And it's like they all
of it coming together.
Exactly. But it also so the rhythm of our hearts communicates with the rhythm of our body, which shows us where we are in alignment and like higher consciousness and our frequency and stuff like that, which then rhythmically connects to like me and Shannon connecting. Our rhythms have to be similar because the frequency has to be similar. So therefore connecting to the earth. Like, what rhythm are we at with the earth when we connect to when we ground? Like the dragons, like all of those things, like it all very much coincides.
Or the polarity. Are we at different rhythms, so we're going to bounce off each other and cause some kind of a event that's going to change both of our rhythms the way that they need to. Maybe we need to hit each other to reset both of our rhythms at some times. That's
a really good way to look at it.
Whatever it is.
No, that's really good. That's a good perspective. Like, that's a good point to bring up, you know what I mean? Because it's not all like, even when we're in a spiritual community and we're all doing spiritual work, it's not like we're all like, it's not this serene bliss 24/7. We still have the trials and the tribulations and the helping each other grow by somebody maybe possibly playing the villain because they're setting boundaries in an area where someone else is still working, and vice versa. And it's like, I had a conversation with somebody in the AOD 2.0 group just this week, like that they had did some work a few years ago that probably laid the groundwork for something that I was dealing with. And I was like, and I hope that at some point in time, I have done that for you. And I'm sure that I have. Like, I know that I have. I don't know the exact circumstances, but it's like, that's what we do. That's why we connect. That's why we sometimes collide. That's why we, like sometimes have to take, whether it's steps back or steps forward or whatever it is. Like, it's just, we're all in the same frequency, but we're in different spaces still. Yeah, so
absolutely. Different notes of the same chord.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. And we're getting long, so we'll try and get through the next couple here for you guys. The fifth one I have here is cause and effect.
We're on 6.
And yeah, we're on 6.
Oh shoot, that's right. You're going. I forgot. Sorry.
Yeah, like that's where
you're going back. Yeah, you're going by chakras. Yes.
But again, we're on the solar plexus, so we're actually in our 3rd chakra. So it's all a little over the place. But so that's your solar plexus. That's Jupiter as a planet and greed as a deadly sin. Cause and effect is vibration and rhythm causing everything that comes into your life. No exceptions. Nothing appears without cause or purpose. Look to the past or the future to find the cause, and you can find the purpose of what that is bringing into your life. So whether it's something that, you know, is meant to come to you, whether it's something you've done in the past, everything will have an effect on what you are seeing in your life right now. Nothing is by chance. Nothing is outside of what you have brought into your own life. And that's, I think, really scary for some people sometimes, because you're really taking responsibility that you brought this in some way. And I think the positive way to look at that is that, even as we know, like, even our suffering, and especially our suffering many times, is the biggest catalyst for change, and the positive changes that we have, and the most beautiful lessons that we have, which raise our vibration, which allow us to live in a further harmony and further coherence in the future. But for whatever reason, for whatever we did, we brought that in so we could experience that.
Yeah, it's that the pain gets so great. When the pain gets so great, that's when we're really willing to change and stop thinking that we have all the answers and start looking outside of ourselves for new solutions. Like, it's that desperation, willing to try anything. And that's what one of the biggest things I think I see with society is that the government just keeps us just at that, right on that line where, like, the pain is so great, it's getting so great, but, like, we're still comfortable. So as long as we're comfortable, we're not going to do anything new.
Give them just enough.
Yeah, exactly.
They won't
like,
revolt.
Yes, exactly. So, like,
and it gets less and less comfortable, if you notice. If you look
it does.
there out your window, it's gotten less and less comfortable.
It does.
But it's still just, you know, we get used to that new level of discomfort as well. We're real good at that as people.
Yep.
Is getting used to that discomfort.
You're
and being
very
like,
right.
okay, you know, like, that's not so bad anymore. And now the good things that happen, or the good things they bring to us, are less and less. But, you know, because our discomfort is that much higher, we're like, oh, this is a good thing. Thank you for bringing me this. You know, whatever. And so, yeah, obviously I'm having my day with how I feel about the government. But
listen, I was about to bring up the stimulus checks and be like, you know, they fed you the stimulus and things like that to make you, okay, well, you're good. You know, we're going to give you money, and we're going to, you know, we're going to flood the earth with COVID, but we're going to give you money. Don't worry. Yeah. Fine. Like, we're totally going to create a pandemic, and it's going to be okay, because we're going to pay you during the pandemic, and you're not even going to, like, care, because you're going to be making more money than you've ever made. Because that's the thing,
like that living wage where you don't have to do anything, right? And, you know, places that they do that are places like Cuba. And we can see what kind of conditions that they live in.
Well, and the government, and guess who has control over Cuba?
Right, and guess who has, so
the United,
I'm not use any very incendiary terms here, but that's what that looks like, guys.
Yep.
Sorry, it is.
Exactly.
Okay, and so next in my list I had polarity, but we got that covered. So the last one that I have here is generation. And generation is, you know, creation. Everything is generating in the universe. Energy is not destroyed, just transformed. We are forever creating new universes. And I just love that. And that ties back to your root chakra. So your first chakra, Mars, which is motion, which makes a lot of sense. And sloth, which is like when you're not in motion, is the seventh, you know, the deadly sin for that one. So when you're not doing the stuff you're supposed to do, that ties back to that.
That's really, I love that you match those with the chakras. I will also say generation is actually the principle of gender as well. Like, that's like, you know, that is what it is. It's the principle of gender. And that's where generation, like, you know, all like, I'm not even going to go down this rabbit hole,
to create.
But
Absolutely.
But gender is actually, like, I don't know how to describe it at the moment, but I can see it in my head, but it would make me go down a rabbit hole of all of this, stuff going on in society with the, like, the non-binary and everything else. Like, that's where this is coming from, is that gender doesn't serve a purpose of necessarily, but that's also why it's the root chakra. It's because that's where your sex organ is. You know what I mean? Like, that's like that. But so
what you believe, like what you were, you know,
which is where the generational comes from.
That generational, that tribal belief. Absolutely.
Yes. And then what I have from Hermetics is gender is in everything. Everything has its masculine and feminine principles. Gender manifests on all planes. Now, gender is in generation is different from polarity with the dualism, because dualism is still, so your masculine and your feminine are pretty much exactly the same. They're just two different perspectives in a sense. You know what I mean? Like, all is one, one is all. It's the same concept with them. The dual is just showing that there's two different sides. Like, it's basically like mentalism going to I want to say war with itself to find
Right.
peace. You know what I mean? Like
Or
all
a
the ways
dance
that
with it,
yeah,
some
yeah,
kind
a
of-
dance with like a
Like
deadly
one of those
dance, a
aggressive
loving
dances where
dance,
they're
yeah.
like, you know, kind of like more like a salsa or something where there's like a little aggression in it. It's like, you know, you have to dip me and I have to catch you and I have to, you know, like there's a lot of action going on.
Well, and I think it depends on what era of the earth as well, because if you read
Yeah,
the
true.
book The Yugas, there was a time period where humanity had telepathy and they lived in peace. But you know, then it was, you know, the mentalism of it could possibly be, okay, now that I have this power to create, now I can also, you know what I mean? It's like I can take advantage of this. So then there's
power,
like
the power and
it's
the control
the
comes into
ego,
it.
yeah, like
Yeah,
that is
yeah.
created in a sense of like, okay, like what happens when someone does this? What happens when someone does that? Like I want to experience that. And you know, outside of these physical embodiments, we're just at peace all the time for the most part. You know what I mean? And so it's like creation allows us to experience this, and you know, we don't think it's that great while we're in it sometimes, but the reality of it is like, you know, by the time you get back to being a spiritual being, you might be not bored, but you might be like, well, I would like to go on another field trip.
Had enough of that.
Yeah,
Exactly. Like, another field trip. I like that way of putting it. And I think you said it perfectly when you said, like, you know, being at complete peace, because that's, if you had coherence in all of these laws and all of your chakras, that's what it is. It's just peace. It's just like I said, heaven on earth. Like that's, you're just enlightened. Everything flows beneath you and around you and you can see it all, but you just, you know, you just are. You know, and no judgment and no any of those things that cause us so much mental, you know, unrest and dis-ease and everything. So it's just that pure state of being. And, you know, and it's kind of cool to think that you could be this way on this, like that we could actually aim for something akin to this while we're here in this lifetime. You know, again, we're not expecting everyone to just be completely enlightened beings in this lifetime, but it's nice to know that you have kind of a little bit of a map of where you can try to go towards to experience that, I think, because
and if
anybody
anybody
so much against you, it's like, what does bliss look like? How do I get there?
And if anybody needs help with that map, Shannon will be offering a new service soon where she aligns the principles with the chakras and does energy clearing and tells you how these principles directly align to your creation. Because I'm sorry to say, but I've already seen it. It literally just saw it. And I was like, oh, well, that's going to be awesome. So let me just go ahead and let her know that she has just by aligning these principles with the chakras, and that's what you do is energy clearing and healing, you will now be so it'll be a really fun service whenever she does offer it. Not to play she's like damn you, like you really just put me on the spot and I don't even know how to do it, but you know that it's all just going to come together now whenever it does happen. It
will come together, and I believe it will come together with this healing modality I'm doing as well, where
Perfect.
I can use the tools that I've gained to sit with you, talk with you, figure these things out, figure out where they are practically in your life. So not just like, okay, we're going to talk, you know, on a big, wide scale. That's not something that you can put into play in your life. So we're going to look at like how practically it's going to make sense to you, and then what emotions does that bring up, what traumas and what triggers, and then try and release those and give you a little more actual like physical peace moving forward from it. So I love you did put me on the spot, but I do see it as well. I don't know when that will happen, but it's going to be in the works, I guess.
Just for anybody interested in it, it starts with mentalism. So think about you being mentalism and you being like, okay, like, so what are you creating in your life? And then how it's being created in a way that you don't want it to be, like, you know what I mean, to release
what are you creating, and then how do we get to a place where you're creating what you want to be creating?
Exactly. And I do love you know, that in this physical world, like it's the sixth dimension that we get to, right? Like we don't go to, like 7 is Godhead. Like, so, you know what I mean? Like, and then, exactly. And there's a reason,
here, right?
There's
so we aim for it, but we can't, you know, if we get there, we're not here.
Exactly. And then 8 and 9 is when we start stepping into creation and destruction and learning about those type, like that kind of stuff. So there is a reason why there are, you know, like only so many, and 7 is just generational about how like we keep searching, we keep, you know, incarnating, we keep watching from the and when I say generational, when I said that earlier, it doesn't just mean the physicality of this earth. It means like our lifetimes on Andromeda and you know what I mean, like Pleiades
lifetimes.
Like I got that too. Like it all coincides with, you know, with all of these principles. They're not just Earth, it's not just Egypt, it's the entire universe.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's just we're just a microcosm of the whole thing,
Exactly,
right? Like when we look at Egypt or when we look at all those things, it's just, we're just looking at our little tiny piece of it to try and understand the huge, big enormity of it. That's kind of what we just talked about.
Very much so. Yeah, definitely. So I'm really excited for your new service that I saw.
Well, yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, no, like
timing TBD.
Yeah, well, no, and that's fine, you know what I mean? But I also want to remind everybody, if you do want information and good conversation and just good intellect on chakras, chakra healing, chakra energy, her podcast, The Seven, is wonderful. She is starting to have guests on there, so it's really nice to hear her collaborate with other people as well and see what she brings in from her own healing journey, because Shannon and I are quite close. We do blend well together. We know that we are one, and that kind of thing, but we're also our healing journeys are different. They are, like, while we're doing some of the similar things, same things, like we're both taking classes, it's like we're both very much in different elements, and so it's really nice to get to hear her and see her on her own and in that environment of just stepping into her power and really just embracing who she is and becoming the goddess, the teacher, the daughter of Ra, and everything that she is. It's just been a beautiful journey to watch, and I'm really excited. And I don't think that this couldn't have aligned at a better time.
I think we were like, what's this gonna look like, and yet again it kind of just works out the way it's supposed to. But I'm not gonna let you get away with only talking about me. Marie has mariespiroff.com. Go there. She has so many services. Her services are wonderful.
Thank you.
Like, I don't know if you're from the group, you've seen the amazing testimonials that people have, but no one works with Marie without some huge breakthrough, something that they're transmuting, something that they're healing. She just works on a level that I have not seen anybody else work on with her healing and with her psychological healing. And I think you can understand that from listening to our podcast, that she just sees it. She just sees it. And so that's a true gift. She is a prophet. And I know you got your card thing now, so now you can't go back on that. So
I know, I love it. I guess we're both stepping into more of our power. You know what I mean? Like, we're really owning who we are and not being like, not allowing like to be afraid of that. I got a engraved tarot case because they told me to. It was more of a directional. It was like, invite this in, and it's engraved, and it says Hermetic Prophet, and it has my Hermetic tarot deck in it, and it's an emerald green for Thoth. So I was I absolutely, and I sent Shannon a picture, and I was so excited when I got it.
It's gorgeous.
But yeah, for sure. Shannon cannot ever let anything just be about her whenever it's coming to being loved. I'm just going to call her out right now, because she has to give back love where she receives it. But I hope everybody gives her podcast a lot of love, just as much as you guys give ours, because we do have a really good fan base. We see the numbers every month, and she'll text me or I'll text her and be like, did you see we got to this number? Yay! Like, you know what I mean? Like, and so it's really nice for as small as we are, in this big universe, and as little as we've been recording, that we do have great feedback and great participants and people, that kind of stuff. So we're very, very thankful.
Very blessed.
Very much so, yes. But yeah. I do. I love you so much, and I admire you, and I'm just really,
so much.
I
we
really
both made each other cry today.
I know, right? I really love the journey, and just, 7 was all about you. I didn't, no waiting till next week, nothing like that. It's just, Shannon is a teacher. Like, I'm of service, and I'm a really good, we're both healers, but I'm really good at being of service, and I do teach, but my teaching is a different style than hers. So it's definitely, I can't wait to watch what she grows into teaching wise, like maybe whatever.
Same with you, and that now that I'm broke the ice, I need to have you for like a full on interview on that too, because I need to ask you more of the probing questions that I haven't gotten to ask you in public for everyone else to hear yet.
That's fair. That's fair. I would be honored.
Maybe ones that I haven't even asked you yet.
Yeah,
we're gonna do the astrology thing. I think there's still so much that I'm very excited. There's so much that we still have to learn about each other.
We do,
as much as we know.
Very much so. Yes. Yes.
That's beautiful. It makes my heart so happy.
Yeah.
So thank you guys all so much for listening to this crazy vanity episode for me. And thank you, Marie, for all your beautiful
Don't let her
words.
fool you guys. I know you guys aren't fooled. I know you guys aren't fooled. Like, don't even. But yeah, and please, anybody, those astro readings of hers, I haven't gotten to experience it yet, but just the description alone, I can feel the power behind it. And
They're
so,
hardcore.
you know,
They're
until her other new services are available, definitely book that, because it's always happening in the stages it's supposed to. So
Exactly. All right. Thank you guys so much again
Thanks,
for listening.
guys.
We appreciate you all so much, and we will we'll be back. Oh, what?
happy 2/22/22
Oh,
portal, guys.
yes, happy 2/22/22 portal.
We're almost through it. We got 12 days left.
Yeah, pack up all the good stuff in your portal backpack and bring it in to the
Yep.
22nd.
Yep. Oh gosh. Yep. All right. Yeah.
All
Thank
right,
you
bye,
guys.
guys.
Bye.